All right, guys, good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Okay, so got 3 people here. All right, so what are we doing today? My master. Masters. All right. What are we doing today? Is there something you need us to revise? Maybe we should revise. Maybe we should revise this not to, even though nobody complained and nobody asked questions. I personally believe that this area is an area that's not so easy to understand. So maybe we should revise this. And then there's any other area that you need us to revise, then we better do, rather than just rushing through the next course and finishing the course today. That's not the motive. We don't have to finish today. Let me just slow down a little, revise that one, and hopefully questions come thereafter. We'll revise whatever we need to revise, just to ensure the part that we have covered, we know it so well. And then we can now go ahead and do something new. All right. So let's revise this, this part that I called advanced. That I call advanced Linux commands. Still Linux command, but advanced. All right, so you remember init 0. Yeah, there are so many pages about init 0, but what it means essentially, the bottom line, the conclusion of the stories around init 0 is that when it, I hope you can hear me. Am I muted? Let me see. And someone just confirmed that you're hearing me, so we can go on.
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Oh, okay. All right, so init 0 basically, I mean, essentially means that, yeah, I'm still letting people in. If you type init 0, no space 0, it means that you are shutting down the system. And if you type init 6 and press enter, it means that you are restarting the system. If you type init 2 and press enter, it means that you are restarting the system, but without networking support. The services that should help support networking would not be loaded with init 2. If you type init 3 and press enter, you are restarting the system with networking support. If you type init 5 and press enter, you are restarting the system with networking support as well as GUI, graphic user environment. All right. We're silent on init 4. That is used for by programmers. It's not useful to you. All right. So at any point in time, if you want to know, why is it an entry networking commands? They are not responding. They are not working. What's run level, not init level? Call it run level. Am I running? So to find out what run level you are on, the command to do that is who. Right? If I had my way, I would say which, but the command is who -r. All right, it tells you that I'm on run level 5, which is the run level that supports GUI and network. That's how to find that run level. So the question I normally ask here is, you go to your friend's system, you're working, you are using Linux. I know Linux, can I just play around? And then you are entering networking commands or something's not working. Then you want to say, it's likely that you are on a run level that does not support network. In which case, you want to type the command O-R to find out where am I? Why is it not working? And then, of course, it will tell you where. All right. So that was by way of revision. And then we talked about RAID 0, RAID 1, RAID 5. What do we mean by these terminologies? Let me just put that in diagram form, because a simple diagram is what 1,000 words. So I am saying here that the way you are used to storing files in hard disk, if you have a hard disk like that, and then you just store your files in. This is what you are used to. All right? You save your file. So when you load Microsoft Word, and then you type what you want to type, you want to save, you save into your hard disk drive. All right? But these days, it's no longer called just hard disk drive, because technology has gone beyond just hard disk drive. So we want to generally call this storage, because storage may be built on the HDD technology or on other higher technologies like SSD, solid state device, like this one that is, okay, that's a different topic. But normally this is what you are used to, just save like that. And every time you want to retrieve the file, just go there and retrieve the file. But under networking, you are going to have an array, actually, as I pronounce. You are going to have an array of different cabinets on your data, in your data center. And then you have so many kinds of, well, this is so big that you don't even want to call it cabinet. It's just all over the place. And then you have hard disk, storage this year, storage this year, storage this year, and so on and so forth, everywhere. Have you ever been to a data center, or maybe like the switch room of a GSM company? You would have a picture of what I'm talking about, right? But even though all of these storages are unique, are physically independent of one another, there is, Linux commands will allow you to combine all of them into one volume. So you have 1,000 storages, physical storages, but they all combine into one volume. Linux will allow you to do that. And that's the diagram I tried to show you. Let me show you that diagram. The Linux will allow you to do this using this concept. Remember the diagram that I showed you that I said is too complex to go into? All right? Oh, what am I doing? I wanted to start from here. I wanted to start the revision from here. Okay, I'll come back here now. But since I've already started with 0, let me just explain with 0. All right? So with the commands that you learn under disk storage, you would be able to, you would learn at some stage. Too heavy for you now, but I've given you the note. All right, let me go back to that diagram. Share that. You will learn that it is possible. You can't actually combine all of that into one. So that if you can combine them into one, then you can combine them into as many units as you want. If, for example, you combine all of this into one volume and combine all of this into another volume, it means that all of this array of hard disks, maybe even 3 or 4, okay? All of this array of hard disks have been converted into 4 different volumes. Now, it is possible for you to say, you know what, these 4 volumes, when I'm saving from the network, from my network, you know what network is, or so many computers, 300 computers, all right? And I'm working with them. Have I mentioned network attached storage in this class before? Have we discussed network attached storage and network storage access network? Yes, we have, right? Have we already discussed those steps? Okay. So, these computers now will now store files to this. But instead of storing this way, like we explained earlier, what it's going to do is when traffic is coming from this computer, it will store the same file, partly here and partly there. So part of the file will go here and part of the file will go here. When this array of storage is configured in such a way that part of file goes there and the other part goes there, so one part of the file will be saved there, another part of the file will be saved there. Then you say you have configured RAID 0. RAID 0. If the part of the file that goes here is, and another part goes here, the reason you want to implement RAID 0 is so that you can retrieve and save info, files, faster with high speed into storage. So RAID 0 will support high speed. The reason you want to do RAID 0 and not do it this normal way that you're already used to is so that you can retrieve and save files faster. So if you are going to save a file and it will take you 30 minutes to save in this normal conventional way, if you are using RAID 0 to save, it may only take you 12 minutes. And then if you wanted to retrieve this same file and it takes you 30 minutes to retrieve, and all the noise, it takes you 30 minutes to download that file. If you're going to download or retrieve that file from RAID 0, it will take you only 12 minutes. So that's what we mean by speed. It's faster to save and retrieve files from RAID 0 than conventional method. All right. So apart from RAID 0, there's also this other method called RAID 1, where files would also be saved simultaneously to to 2 volumes. This time, we're not saving files simultaneously to 2 volumes so that we'll have speed. We are saving the whole file to 1 volume and repeatedly saving the whole file again, not part of the file, to this volume. So it means that whatever we have in volume 1, we simply have replicated in volume 2. So volume 2 is a copy of volume 1, exact copy. Why do you want to do this? Why are you wasting a whole hard disk just to repeat this? So that if anything happens to 1 volume, you still have the other one and you are not losing data. This is called redundancy or creating high reliability, right? So, and the configuration of volumes that results in redundancy is called RAID 1. RAID 1. So RAID 0 is configured for speed, RAID 1 is configured for redundancy. And if you now have a single system combining both RAID 1 and RAID 0 together and offering you the 2 packages in one, then you say you have RAID 5. RAID 5. All right. So this physical array of disk drive You know, the RAID is about the configuration of the logical configuration of the volumes, but the physical volumes, the physical array of storages is called network attached storage. Because it's network attached storage. So you just take it from there and you attach it to this network. So instead of each system on this network having its own hard disk, is what they do is that they have the storage that is external to them, and then anytime they need to save or retrieve a database, they'll be connecting to a central storage. Right? So this idea is called network attached. The storage is separate but attached to the network. Network attached storage, NAS. All right. So we are done with that explanation. Now, if you didn't know, you now know what RAID 0, what RAID 1, what RAID 5. Let me go back to. All right. So let's repeat this practical of installing additional disk volume. We did this yesterday. Yesterday. So let's do it again, just by way of, let's go over the whole thing. All right. So we have this. Let me log in. We have this system. And if I do the command fdisk -L, what does it do? Permission denied. So you have to be sudo fdisk -L. And then who am I? All right. So it tells me that I have a storage called SDB. Look at it. I have a storage called SDB. Why would I have SDB? So first of all, I have a storage called SDA. And that SDA as a storage has two volumes inside of it, SDA1 and SDA2. Right? These two volumes are two partitions. Right? And then it goes on to say, I also have a second storage, a second hard disk called /dev/SDB, or simply called SDB. And inside this storage, I have three partitions. This is what we did yesterday, right? Three partitions, SDB1, because /dev is common, we may be silent on that. SDB2 and SDB3. And then that's all. The rest is just, there's no other volume as it relates to human. The rest is for machine use. You can't see any other one. All right. So now we do have two storages, SDBA and SDA and SDB. So let us attach a third storage. If the first one was SDA, second one was SDB, then I should think that the third one will be named SDC. So let us attach a third storage, SDC, and then it's up to us how many partitions we want to have inside that. Is it 1 or 2 or 3? We'll decide that. But to attach additional storage so that our team, the new team we are setting up a project for, would have space. We're assigning hard disk space to them, right? Because if we see everybody go and be saving to this project, before you know it, this space is full. And then you're no longer able to manage your files. There's no file manager here to be creating directory, moving files from one. No. So just learn to manage them from scratch. All right. So we're now saying, yeah, there's this new work that we want to do. Please assign storage to us so that we'll be able to, whatever work we do, whatever we are sharing and so on, we'll do it from that space. Right? Okay. So like I said, let's go and do it. And then By the time we come back here, when it is done, we expect to see SDC. And then once we see SDC as the storage, then we can now partition into SDC1, SDC2, SDC, and into as many partitions, usually 4, should do, as we want. All right, so to create storage, we need to switch off the system. So we'll come here, just like we did yesterday, we'll switch off, and then now the system is off. We'll go to the environment, and then we'll see that the system is off, and then we'll go to machines, settings, storage. This was the one we added yesterday. Let's add one more. Go to controller, SATA. Then we do that. We say create one more storage of not 8, of maybe 5 gig space. All right, and then we say create. It is created, and then if we come here, we see that it's been created, but not attached to any system. So why don't we take it and say choose it so that it is now attached? If we click it, you see that that's the 5 gig SATA that we just created. We have created additional hard disk, right? We have added one more storage to this system. All right, so with this liking tool, we just open up the system and used our SATA cable to connect the hard disk physically. This is equivalent to that. All right, so now that we have done that, we'll now start the system. And the system should now see that we have actually attached the 3rd storage. All right, let's start the system, and then let's wait for it so that we can check. All right, log in as Akin. All right, so we're here now. The command to check is sudo f disk -l. Oh, okay, who am I? Okay. And then what do we have? Like we saw before, we have SDA. We have SDA like we had it before. Where's SDA? SDA. So we have a disk called /dev/SDA. And then inside that disk, we have 2 partitions, /dev/SD1 and /dev/SD2. Okay, so after that, we have another disk called SDB. Look at the disk, SDB. And inside SDB, we have 3 partitions, /dev/SDB1, /dev/SDB2, /dev/SDB3. These are the 3 partitions. And that was all we saw the last time. But now, we scroll down, we are going to see that we have another disk again. I will just add it, called SDC. But inside this SDC, there are no partitions yet. And the system cannot use this disk when there are no partitions inside and when the partitions are not formatted, when it does not have, when they do not have house the file system. So therefore, the next thing you want to do is to is to partition this SDC, right? All right, that's beautiful. So let's do it. Let's partition. Let's partition. So the command to partition is, again, sudo It's always fdisk, or fdisk, fdisk. Fdisk what? What do you want to partition? So you take this. That's what you want to partition. I could copy, I'll just copy from there and I'll come and paste. Let me see. Copy. And then paste. All right, that worked. So that's how to sudo fdisk that. And then you press enter. And then it tells you, okay, if you don't know what to do, if you are confused, press letter M for help. All right, so when I pretend I'm confused, I'll say letter M for help. And then to tell me, press A to do this, press B to do this, press N to add a new partition, which is what I want. All right, so I press letter N. And it says, I can create four partitions for you, primary and extended. You cannot have anything but primary first, so it has to be primary. So you take P for primary, and then you take 1 for the first primary, and then you say start, and you say for this one, create a hard disk partition of plus size, where your size is in either kilobyte, megabyte, or gigabyte. So in this case, I'm going to say plus, out of 5, let me say plus 2 gig. All right, and that is done. You want to create another one? Out of 5, I've used 2, remaining 3. So from the remaining 3, let me do new again, N for new. And then I'll enter for second one. Second one, start here, but end where? Add another 2 gig. That's 2 gig. Right? Then plus again, what do you want? N for new. New partition, you use 2. You want me to create the third one? Yes. And then this will be the third one. Press enter to go on. Okay, first one. You know what? I'm not going to give you size here. Use the remaining, whatever is left, use it to create, use all of it to create the last partition. All right, so that is it. So now I've created 3 partitions. First partition, 2 gig. Second partition, 2 gig. Third partition, well, 1 gig, because we had 5 gig originally. But in reality, what is left is not up to 1 gig, because some space will be taken for system files that are even the files that are doing the partition, they have to stay somewhere. All right. So now that I've created 3 partitions, I'll remember to write W, which means save everything that I have done. All right. So it is only after it tells me that partition has been saved, that is when I know that I do now have partitions. If I do sudo fdisk, sudo fdisk -L, I'm going to see that I now have, of course, we have seen SDA, SDB earlier. There's no need to go up there anymore. I see now that for my SDC, and I have 3 partitions. Beautiful. All right. The system still cannot use these partitions. For system to be able to use partitions to save files into them, you must put a file system in there. How do you put a file system in partition? The command is make file system dot, what's the file system you want to put? XFS. Make file system, and let's do sudo. Sudo make file system of what? Of this partition. You copy this, and then you bring it in. All right, sudo make file system. Let me quickly confirm that that command is correct. Partition. Okay, we already did partition. So make file system /dev. Okay, let me just put that assignment. All right, so the command is correct. And then sudo, because this is a command for, it's a command for administrators to perform. All right, so it is done. What's the next thing you want to do? Put file system on true as well as this C2, and then put file system on what? As DC3. So this way you have partitioned all. Sorry, This way you have put file system on all three partitions. All right. Like I said, once you put file system, you may now call them volumes. All right, so that's it. Now they are ready for use. However, they cannot be well, they can be accessed as /dev/SDA, but the people you are creating it for, they are not technical people. So why don't you present it in a very simple way that they can understand? So let's go and create directories so that we can now map this partition, these volumes. So let's say cd root. So if we do it here, then also the cd root. Sorry. Root is not, it's backslash, not false. All right, ls minus l. Okay, the three we created yesterday, minus ltr, so that they are at the bottom. Ls minus ltr. So we created some here yesterday. Maybe not. Oh, this is. Yeah, look at MTN. Okay. No, that was yesterday. Don't worry. So that was MTN. I have another. Oh no, that wasn't MTN. That was MNT. This MTN and this and this. All right. These other files we have used. That's why they are appearing last. We have used them without knowing. So they were not the last directories we used. Anyway. So let us create 3 directories to which we want to map, to which we'll map these volumes. Any name is okay. So let's just create directory. So do make directory and call one A. Do make directory B. Do make directory C. Okay, that's simple. You want to see them? ls minus ltr. All right, so you have ABC in that order. All right, so to map them now to the respective drives and volumes that we have already created, then the command will be what? Sudo mount, that's the command. Mount /dev/SDC1 to /A. Is that okay? You understand that? That's it. And then mount SDC2 to /B and mount SDC3 to class C. I mean to /C. It's all done? It's all done. So to see the result of all your work now, the command is df. And then you may want to say -h in human readable format. And you see that your work works. What you created, you can actually see here. And look at the ones you created yesterday, just today. Okay. That's it. You are done with creating a volume and making it possible. I mean, sharing it and making it available on your network. Definitely something you want to say you can do when they ask you, what can you do with Linux? Or what have you done with Linux for all of this knowledge, everything you know that you are claiming you know? What have you done with it? One organization in the past. Okay. You mentioned FTP, or whether you mentioned that you have done you have installed or configured any service. Please mention that you have also, it is worth mentioning that you have also used created storages and made them available. All right, so the last thing we want to do here is make this permanent. Make this change permanent, because like I said, if we restart the system now, we're going to lose this last part that we just added. All right, so to make it permanent so that the system always remembers that these drives are mapped to these directories, you say sudo vi into etc. What's the name of that file? etc, yeah, etc, and the name of the file is fstab. That's the name of the file. All right, fstab. So come here. Oh, you recognize this, remember. All right, so just follow that format. Insert and say, yes, I've added more. I've added /dev /sdc1, and that one I called A, and then I formatted using XFS, and then this one is default, and then that one is 0 space 0. And then I did another one called sdev. Excuse me. Dev sdc2. This one I have mapped to /b. And I formatted with XFS. XFS. Defaults. 0 0. And then there's this last part called /dev /sdc3 /b /xfs. Defaults 0 0. All right, everything good? So we now save A, B, C. Ah, man, you're not even correcting this well. So I think the others are good. All right, so press escape, and then we save. No, escape first, then colon, save, quit. No. All right, so we now restart the system. Init 6. That's it. We just completed the revision of how to add additional disk storage to your network. All right. So let's go back there and just take a look around. So to save the file into our volumes, all we do is just, let's see what's here, ls -l. Where are we? Okay, I'm in my home CD. Okay, let me just create a file. Let me create a file and call it, okay, I actually have a file. So let me just move this file. So I can say, copy this file now that we have a place for our project. I can say copy these files to where? To /A. Oh, which file? Copy which file? This one? Copy, then paste to where? To /A. My password. All right, it's copied. So if we go back to cd/A now, I'll do ls -l. The file is there. So the file /A is now available for files. But remember that /A is mapped to df -h. whatever you save in /A, you are actually saving into SDC1, which is a volume that you created out of the disk SDC. All right, and so on and so forth. That's how to make it. All right, if there are questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, we are done with that revision. All right, like I said, nobody asked questions, but I just felt that going through that one more time will help you understand it, because I know that it may not be easy to understand it. Okay, so let me scroll around and find what I need to. What else I need to revise? So these are there for reference. We already revised those parts. We already revised. Then I did find out how to make this permanent. I did not get how to make that permanent. So I put here that it does appear. I'm not certain, but it appears like this is only the way to change this while you are working. If you now want to, if it has worked for you and everything is good, and you want to make it permanent, then you still have to go to the original file where you changed your IP address and your subnet mask and put this one there permanently. Man, what's all this fast? Okay. So that's why I said it appears. All right, someday I'm going to confirm. Then I'll say it no longer appears, it is. All right, but for now, we tried that command yesterday and we saw that it worked. As long as we did not restart the system would recognize the new IP address and start to use it as a new IP address. We only start to have problems when we restarted. I mean, we only start to have problems if we restart the system and it will forget the new IP address and go back to the old IP. All right. For default gateway, it's just a command you should learn. You will need it in the future. But as far as practicing within this environment is concerned, we do not have routers. We don't have logical routers within our Oracle virtual machine, so it's not something we can practice. And then the same for DNS server. But if you needed to change your DNS server, just like you needed to change your IP address and you did this, you can also say echo name server, the IP address, all right? And then, of course, I reckon that this will be temporary, but the way to do it permanently, like we'll see, well, we're going to see that. Yeah, we'll do a lot of DNS in cloud, but let's just wait till we get there. You know, that was these commands are just there because after this training, you might be looking for, how do I do this? How do I do this? Depending on what you find yourself doing operations. Already, you know how to ping already. So you know that the reason we are pinging, the IP address is the real thing to ping. But by the time we do DNS, you will see again. By the time we do DNS again, you will see that instead of IP address, you can actually use domain name because you have actually already used a record to map domain name to IP address. So anytime you are referring to the domain name will be resolved to the IP address and you're actually pinging the IP address. Just the same, anytime we saved to /A, after we did it, we're actually saving to dev/dev/sd. So that mapping is resolved. All right, so if we are ready, let us learn something new today, how to back up and restore. All right, but if we're not ready, then you can ask questions on any previous command. So luckily for you now, courtesy of this program, you don't really have to follow my practice one by one. You can just create your own practice by attempting to do this right away. Create directory, create group, create user, and so on and so forth. Just do them direct. It's a lot of work, but there's nobody that can finish all of this for practice and see does not know Linux. At least essential level of Linux. All this other part that we are doing, this part of creating and adding services and adding volumes, yeah, you may consider them a bit high or advanced, but at least as far as the basics are concerned, you know those very well with the practice of this exercise. Okay, it doesn't look like, why is this man wasting time? Why doesn't he want to start? Let's teach us something new today. Okay, so let's go and do something. Where am I? Okay, here. There are different ways of backup. So backup is not like one rigid way of doing backup. Okay, we already know that taking a snapshot of your entire machine is one way of backing up. So system backup, you can back up the entire system by taking an image of the system at that point. And then for people that may not want to, yeah, there are different levels of being technical. Organizations may say, man, Linux is too strong or it's too fundamental to our operations. We don't want you to go and mess up the command. Yeah, okay. So they may just present you with a third-party graphic user interface that you can click to do the same thing for you. But between you and I, we know that Snapshot can do this, all right, for system backup. If the backup you want to do is not for the entire system, it's just for the application, then there are third parties, even Windows. Within Windows third party, you can just say this one, this one, this one, just click them, click those applications and say back them up for me, all right? So those are other ways to back up. Then database backup, your database as an application will have its own backup resource embedded in it. So Oracle will have its own backup within Oracle to click to say backup my database. SQL will have its own backup to click to say backup my data. So every Oracle, I mean, how can you have a database, a full-fledged database that will not have a backup facility to click so that it will back it up for you? Because if anything happens to it, why are you going to get another database? All right. So these other ones, you will find that application developers, database administrators, virtually everyone would know to do this and do this no, what I meant was not everyone, depending on the application administrators and users to know how to use application backup. Database people will know how to use this to back up the entire system unit. But the ones that are peculiar to you as Linux administrators, they are these ones, the ones in yellow, right? File system backup. We have already done that before. Remember when we tagged 5, 7, 15, 300 files together using the tag command? And then when we saw that it was still heavy, we went ahead to do gzip. We actually tried backing up a whole directory by doing star. We'll do that again more often. Right? So you're already doing file system backup by backing up not the entire system, not the entire computer, not the entire application, but just selected system here and there. Back them up as a TAD file. You can back up 500 different files as a single file using the tag command. All right, then the one we really want to learn today, the one that is wow, is the disk backup. In this case, you want to back up an entire disk. We just created a disk now, so it's still fresh in your mind what a disk is. So you created a volume 1 or empty volume, the one you assign to MTN, and you want to back up that whole volume. All right. You want to now migrate the volume to MTN office to say, well, I finished your project. I mean, just back it up. Can you finish a project and not have the backup? What if something happens to it? Lose it? So you want to back up periodically. It's not intermittent. All right. So the way to back up an entire disk is what I'm going to show you. It's more like cloning the disk. All right, so let's back up. What are we going to back up? Let's come into this system and let's back up something. So what are we going to back up? Let's do fdisk, fdisk, sudo fdisk minus L. All right, so SDC, SD, you know what? Okay, suppose the reason we set up this extra volume is to back up what we have here. Although this is only 1 gig, this is 1 gig, but this is 2 gig. Okay, maybe not too efficient, but it's just an example. If I'm backing up 1 gig, then I should use 1 gig to back up 1 gig. If I use 2 gig to back up 1 gig, then I've wasted the additional 1 gig. 1 gig of hard disk space or storage is a lot. You don't want to just waste it. All right. So if you told me earlier on, you know what, network administrator, you are going to back up a volume for me so that I'll make that volume available to my developers team. Whatever happens to it, in case we lose it, then I'll come back to the backup. Then what I want to do is take a look at that volume using DF, understand the volume so that I know what storage capacity would I need to back up that hard disk. All right, so let us back this up. Remember that if you are backing up a hard disk, it doesn't matter what's inside the hard disk, what's inside the storage. Whether there is something inside, whether it is half filled, whether it's full, whatever it finds there, that's what it backs up. Even if it's empty, that's what it backs up. Right? It's backing up the storage. It's not like you are backing up the files. It's backing up the entire storage with what's inside. All right, so the command would be, let me see, I want to back up okay, instead of backing up volume, let me back up the entire, let me back up the entire, let me back up the entire one, the entire SDB. Where's SDB? The entire disk, not just the partition. Yeah, I can back up the partition. I'll give you the command to do that. But let's back up the whole disk. To what? To a new disk. Where am I backing it up? Let me quickly go and create a new disk that I'll back up SDB to. Because when I was creating SDC, that was not what I had in mind. So I already partitioned it the way that would not necessarily fit. Yeah, nothing stops me from doing it, but let me create something that fits more. So do you want us to go back and create SDE and then use that SDE to back up our SDB or even our SDA? We should create SDA. What's SDA? SDA here. Let's back up SDA. Let me quickly go and create one more disk so that I can use it to back up SDA. All right, I can't do it while it's on. So I go shut down, close, shut down. To back up, I need 2 disks. One that I want to back up and the other that I want to back up 2. Let me come here and create the storage that I want to back up. So I already have 3. Yeah, create one more, 4. And this time, call it create. What's the space of it? SD what 8 gig. Yeah, that's the original one created. So let's quickly create 8 gig. Yeah, leave it at 8 gig. Right? Now look for it and attach it. 8 gig, choose. Beautiful. We are done. All right, let's start the system. So I have created a new hard storage now of 8 gig. So let me go and back up our original storage to this 8 gig that I just created. We've seen that there are different levels of storages. Sometimes you are storing, there are different levels of backups. Sometimes you are backing up files. Sometimes you are backing up applications. Sometimes you are backing up databases. Sometimes you are backing up an entire system. We've already had practice of those at one point or the other, but this time we want to back up an entire disk. And the command is actually simple. It's just the preparation that is long, because we needed to shut down to go and get the hard disk ready. To create the hard disk. And now we'll come back here and say, okay, now that we have the hard disk, can we copy it into it? We'll say copy system terminal. And then we'll come here and then we'll do, you need to do FDs. It's already there. There's no need to do FDs. So let's go to the command. So the almighty command for backup is called dd. dd, then you do if equals, that is if the I means input. The input that for this backup is what? Is /dev/sda. That's it. I should do sudo. Anybody cannot just come and do dd in my own work. So I have to do the sudo. So if /dev/sd, that is if the source hard disk, then off, O meaning output. So the input will be the first hard disk, the output will be the second hard disk. Output will be /dev/sd what? sd. I should have checked it. Anyway, I created A, B, C. So this will be D, so it will be SDD. So let me press enter now and see what complaint it will give. And then enter my password. All right, so what's going to happen now? Trying to back up an entire hard disk, entire volume, entire disk, right? From one to the other. All right, if you are adding a new disk to backup, there is no need to first partition. That's deliberate. Okay, that's going to take a while because it's backing up an entire disk is going to take a while. So let's continue with. Let me show you something here. Why that one is wrong? Ah, no, I didn't intend to. Okay, so if you are adding a new disk to partition, if you are adding a new disk to backup to, like we just did, there is no need to first partition or add file system to it. Just go ahead and back up with above command, right? So if you were talking and listening and observing, somebody would have said, but you told us that if you do not partition a hard disk and put file system, that your system will not recognize it. How come you are now doing this straight without even partitioning and putting file system? All right. So if it is for this purpose of backing up, that will be for backup, then there is no need. You can just go ahead. But if you wanted to use it not for backup, but for regular file storage, then you move. All right, so that's the command. You see that the command by itself is simple, and then it's going to take a while because it's like replicating a whole house and making so. And like I said, it doesn't matter whether there is only this is not file. It doesn't matter whether there are only 5 files there or whether there are 5 million files there. It's not even, it's just seeing it as a whole package, as a whole disk. So it will take the same amount of time if you were backing up a full disk as it would take if you were backing up, to back up a small disk. All right. And because of the long time that it takes, that's about the only one you can take. But if you are going to partition a volume and not a disk, it's exactly the same thing. Look at it, SD1, and then you now say, where am I backing up to? You back that up as an image. Okay, looks like it's done. What do we have there? Look at it. It says all of this record came in and all of this record, the same amount came out. So now we do have a backup of one disk copied into the other one. Awesome. So we have successfully backed up a full disk using dd command, dd. All right. If this is something you can defend, then you want to put on your resume that can do backup. If you have space, you can list them. You can do system backup using a snapshot. If you have done application backup, you can put it there. If you have not done it, you can jump it. If you have not done database backup, you can leave it. Or you can say you've done system backup. Yeah, you've done this or that. So if you have done all 5, list them. Otherwise, you list only the 3 that you have done. They are interested in. Of course, you will see in the job description that the person they want to hire must be able to do backup using Linux. So this is how to do it. But of course, you have to practice it to be able to put it there. You can't put it there without practice. Yeah, there are some people here, 7 people here. Any question? Okay. So let's go ahead and practice this. We have time, so no need to rush. Let's go ahead and practice these other kinds of partition. Of backups. Remember that we have partitions that we did not use, the SDC partition. SDA, SDB, we created SDE1, SD2, SD3, mapped them to /A/B/C. We have not used them. So let's partition. Let's back up. What do we back up now? Let us back up SDB1. Remember this person. I remember this. Okay, let's do it anyway. For this time, the command is dd, so sudo dd if input. So the input will be what? The input will be if equals /dev/sdb1. All right, sdb1, that's the one mapped to A. And then output will be, now create the backup as an image and put it here, put it in root / no, let me not put it in. Let me put it in let me just put it in /b now. I'm not sure what that wrote is. What other place do I know? Let's do /c and then call it sda1.image. Okay, what does this mean? This one is saying you are backing up the partition as an image, and you are let's see, and you are storing it in the drive as an image SD A1.image, and you are storing it in the partition C. Yeah, let's see if that works. Okay. All right. Beautiful. It works. All right. So 1 gig copied. Now let's go and see here and see. Let's go and see our /C. Let's see if this image has truly been created and saved there. Oh, it's already telling us load this drive C. So it's already been it's already very pregnant, and it's saying you have used all the space, so virtually nothing is left. But let's go and check. So how do we see? So CD/C, right? Are we there? Yes, we're in /C now. And then ls-l, look at the image. Look at it. This image is not a small image. This image is a backup of an entire disk, an entire partition, an entire volume. Okay, this is the whole thing. Partition through volumes are the small rooms that you created inside the disk when you partition. So I want to use the right word so that when I say disk, I mean the whole disk together work as one. But when I say partitions or volumes, I mean the one of the many, maybe not always many, but one of the many possible partitions inside it. All right, so that's how to back up the volume. Right? So now let us restore. Let us pretend we want to restore this backup volume. I mean, it's okay to back up, but how do we now use that backup to bring back the original thing? It's called restore. So in this case, let us see if we want to restore, use this one now to restore another volume. What we'll do now is we'll do dd sudo dd if. What's your if this time? What's the input this time? This is the input. That's the input this time. Oh, I didn't copy. And then output to where now? For output to say off equals. So what do we want to restore this backup to? Let us restore to /dev/sdc, SDC3. You remember we have 3 of them? 3 SDCs. I mean 3 partitions in SDC. SDC1, SDC2, SDC3. Okay, maybe you don't remember. Let's quickly take a look. df -h. All right, so we have SDC1. All right. Is this complete? So we have our A, SDC3 here. It's up. I was looking for it. Okay, so we have SDC3, and that's the one we back up to our C. So that backup, let us restore it to B. So let us restore it to this one. We are going to use the B stick. Okay. So that'll be /dev/sdc. SDC2. All right, so the command is, like you see on your left, sudo dd restore sudo dd if input interface would be, I have lost that one again. All I remember is somewhere up would be, where did I back up to? /c /s. Don't remember it. Let me scroll up. This one. That's our input. Control. I want to say sudo dd if equals that, then off equals /dev /sdc2 as the B1. All right. What's my password? All right. So that is an example. Yeah, it works. That's an example of how to restore. Now you know how to back up and then how to use what you have backed up to set up a new system. In other words, you learn this in cloud as migration. You can migrate a whole disk from one place to another by first of all backing it up and then using the backup to create a different one. All right, any question on that? Questions? Okay, so now you know how to back up disk and partitions and volumes and how to restore them. So the next thing you want to look at is firewall. I'll be telling you firewall. I'll show you how to open only some ports and not bring down the entire firewall. So it's time for firewall. Time for firewall. All right, so you are unable to browse after configuring HTTP. Instead of bringing down the entire firewall, you may want to open the HTTP port. This firewall lesson is very detailed. I'll not cover everything because we don't really need everything. Rather, I gave you the notes deliberately as a reference material, so you can always look at this. But if all you wanted was to open the HTTP firewall, you would do something like this. So first of all, you want to say firewall command, and then you say ---- list all. Okay, so this command says firewall command list all, and then it lists everything about firewall. That for public that is active, you have a ICMP block, invasion node, what ports are open. The ports are open that are open will be listed here. Right now, no port is open. No port is open. That's what this means. So anytime you open the port, it will be listed there. And then what services are running? You have DHCP version 6 running on the client, and then you have SSH open. SSH open. All right. So in order to open HTTPD so that you see it here, look, watch it too. You see that right now? Protocols open, not. So the command to open a particular protocol, in this case, or a particular protocol. In this case, HTTP, the command is fire sudo firewall cmd firewall command. Okay, then minus add service. What service do you want to add? Add service, and you see equals, like you can see on the left hand side, HTTP. So firewall command. All right. Then space minus add service equals HTTP. All right, press enter, and then success. So if we now do firewall sudo firewall command minus list, or we are going to see that the services that are open now includes HTTP. All right. So this is what we should have done to allow us to browse instead of bringing down the entire firewall. This is what we should have done. We should have just entered the command sudo firewall command, then add service HTTP. All right, so that is it. So this is, if the port you wanted to open was not HTTP, if it was something else like what's other port, like FTP, then you would have that there instead of, just replace this with the port number. All right. So let's come back here. Services already predefined by firewall are shown. To add a new service, say HTTP, then do this. All right? Just do this. That's how it does this. All right? So this command should confirm that HTTP is now listed. And once it is listed, it means that it is allowed. Just like it is listed here, it means that it is allowed. Again, to make this permanent, let's not forget, because it's relating to firewall, then we have to do system ctl, sudo system ctl restart httpd. Okay, it's already on here. We didn't have we already brought down the firewall at the beginning. Okay, so, or is it not on this system? Is HTTPD installed here? If it's installed, it's already running, but if it's not installed, let's see. What's the best way to find out if HTTP is installed? There's something. Let me try if it works. HTTPD version. Okay, so what was the other command I used before? Relational RPM minus query repository manager minus query and grep for HTTP. HTTP is not installed here, so you cannot start or restart. It's not installed. We tried HTTP from server 1, I guess, so it's not installed. All right, so our goal is not to install HTTP, but if that was our goal, of course, we know what to do. It will be yum install. Sudo yum install HTTP and then -1. All right, so that's that, but that's not all. Okay, so what if you want to remove a protocol that's already allowed, or ports? Protocol port, yeah, I use the interchange. Or to allow a protocol must pass through a port. So it's to allow to short a protocol. For example, let's say sudo firewall -cmd, then the list all, list, okay, yeah, list all. Okay, for example, SSH is allowed on this system now. Suppose I want to block SSH. All this SSH will be doing, which now we're just taking for granted. I want to make it impossible now for this system to be able to do SSH. In other words, you'll not be able to use this system to SSH into another system, and you'll not be able to SSH into this system from another system. Let's try it. So the command will be sudo firewall cmd, firewall command, then remove service. And what service do you want to remove? SSH. So, yeah, equals SSH. All right, so that's the service to remove. How does it work this time? Success. So if we do command sudo firewall cmd, then what? List all. We're going to see that SSH is no longer listed there. It's not allowed. Wow. So even though SSH is allowed by default, you can actually make it impossible. You'll be warned that it's not every time that you just attempt to SSH into a server that you can do it successfully. It is possible that SSH has been disabled on that server and you may not be able to SSH. In fact, in that case, you will not be able to. Okay. And then, of course, who can now show me, oh, this was a mistake. I didn't move to remove SSH because SSH is all important. Who can show me how to bring it back? So if we said remove, then the opposite of remove would have been add. So to add SSH back, I'll just do, instead of remove, I'll say add service. All right, and the service is SSH. All right, success. So if we do, show me everything again, we're going to see that SSH is now back. Okay, so that way you can add and remove services. You just know the name of the service you can remove. And then we have the case of wanting to add this command, firewall -d.service 83, like you already did, minus. But this time you add permanent. You know, we have experienced that when you implement or activate a service and it works, it may not necessarily mean that that service is now permanently activated, that even when you switch off the system and switch it back on, that the system will remember that service. It doesn't necessarily follow. In cases where the appropriate command is to do systemctl restart, good, and then do enable. But in case like this, that is not what is supported. What you want to do is add this permanent. Right? firewall command, add service, whatever, and then do permanent. All right. All right. Any questions on how to switch on and switch off ports, protocols using firewall? Just know the name of the port, know the name of the protocol. Good. HTTP, FTP. Let's go and try this on FTP server. Let's see if we do that. Where did we install our FTP? It's definitely not here because we are not seeing any FTP there. Let's go to server 1. Let's go to server 1. Where's my server 1? Let's find out if our FTP server is installed here. We'll go to okay, so what do we do here? Login. Okay, so is this where we have our FTP? Let's just let's check. Okay, how do we check FTP? Is FTP installed here? RPM minus query all, and then grep for FT. Actually, the server version is VS FTP demo. Oh, it's there. It's right there. It's installed here. All right. So let's look at the firewall. What does the firewall allow? Firewall CMD. Then what? Sudo firewall CMD. Then minus list or I'm Akin. Firewall is not running. Oh, we stopped the firewall. Oh, beautiful. Let's even seize this opportunity to on the firewall and only allow that port and see if it works. All right. So how do we on the firewall? What's the opposite of stop? Start, right? Okay. So firewall was stopped. Let us start it. Sudo system ctl restart firewall. Right? What's the status of firewall D now? In the status. Okay, firewall is active now. All right, that's beautiful. So what did we do the last time? Last time we said list all the firewall. Okay, sudo firewall there, this command. It said there was a firewall, but now there is firewall. So our firewall is on now. But we are still not able to do FTP. So let's practice. That command now, we use it for SSH, it works. We use this for HTTP, it works. And we also use it to enable FTP. So once FTP can appear here after we enter the command, there's no error and FTP appears. So what's the command? The command is sudo firewall. No, sudo what? Yeah, firewall CMD, then what? Sudo firewall CMD minus remove add. This I want to add service Is it add.service or add service? I think add service, then equals FTP. All right. Let's see if that works. Wow, looks like it works. Success. So if we now do list, and then we'll now see that FTP is there. All right. So this confirms that I mean, we can generalize. No, actually, that's what it says. It's just in terms of our practice, we're agreeing with the theory that this is how to add or remove open ports. All right, that's beautiful. So now we can do our FTP without having to stop the firewall. Everything we needed to stop firewall for, we can leave the firewall and simply open that particular port. All right. Windows will present okay, all right, so that's beautiful. I just wanted to come here and try that and it was. So let's go back to our notes and then practice. Okay, so we have learned how to use a firewall CMD, list all, and then how to use it to implement. Take firewall back to this one reload. That means everything you have been doing, you don't want to make it permanent. Load the original version. If you want, in case that's what you want to achieve, then you can use it. Add a service that is not, this is kind of advanced, but again, it's there as note for you, like I already said. All right. If your service is not already listed at all, and you want to add it to your firewall, then you go through this long process. And then firewall add remove ports, you can go through all of them. I've never used hard course to use this. I've never done anything this complex, but they are there for you in case you run into. I've practiced them, but in operations I've never used. All right, questions? I have a question.
Okay. I saw when you to block outgoing traffic to specific websites. Is it the same Linux that was used in Nigeria to block Twitter?
Yes, this Linux would be appropriate to say they used it. It would be appropriate to say yes, Linux commands were used. But in practice, blocking Twitter was a networking thing, not, of course. Okay, let me explain that. Yes, it's not completely wrong to say they must have entered a similar command like we're trying to do here. However, an easier way to achieve this is this. Let me put that in diagram form. An easier way to block Twitter, which is the way that it's really easy and you don't want to go through any other method. It's here. Let's come here. All right. So do you see this? Let's clear here. I hope you understood what I'm clearing now, so we don't have to draw that. All right. So Nigeria, a country as a network of devices. Let us represent that by this. Okay, that region called Nigeria, I'll represent that. Now, every network, whether it is a small network within this network, or a big network within this network, or even an enterprise network within this network, as long as it's within this geographical entity, and when we are referring to smaller networks relative to bigger networks, we call this other network sub-network, meaning that what we actually have in mind is the big picture, like this one. So every network would have some points through which it allows network to go and allows data to go out or come in. That point is the gateway. For Nigeria, you want to call this one international gateway. And what device do you put on the gateway to say, what device can you really point to say, this is the gateway? Is it the mast? Is it the fiber cable that is running into through Glow 1 or through Main 1? What device is it really on this whole network that this? Yeah, we know that many things may work together to be, but this really is the gateway. That device is a router. Again, there are levels of router. The level of, the reason I drew this was to tell you that there's a kind of router here. Every network has a router, but the kind of router you have here, you cannot compare to the kind of router that is controlling the entire network coming into and out of the country. So when NITEL was the only channel through which Nigeria communicated with the world, this equipment working together to form the gateway, you will see those tall masts. I don't know how old you are, but in those days, taller than even before GSM came. And then there will be an SDH antenna on top of them, and then you see them in NITEL offices only at that time. All right. So that kind of thing was in Sakatinobu, headquarters of NITEL. That would be gateway, but that was just to build a line of sight. But the real device that those cables connect to, that is in the room that you can say, this one, you can point to it, you can touch it, and say, this one is our international gateway. Of course, because it's international gateway, you want to have 3, 4 of them so that the other 2 will be backing up the main one in case the main one fails. You don't want to throw the whole of Nigeria into panic just because one gateway fails. So even though it's one device, you are going to have many equipment, many devices supporting it to work. And then in case it goes down, another one just come up. So this is the device. And it is inside here that you now do your access control list to say block any traffic coming from so IP address. So it will just be easy to get Twitter's IP address, the IP address of the Twitter server serving Nigeria, and then you come into this router and write an access control list like you would do in a cloud, and then you block it. So it was actually blocked here. So it was more of a gateway thing here on a router than on one system inside here running Linux that you're trying to do it from. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And normally you will have a government parastatal. Like I said, NITEL is a government parastatal. Now that NITEL is dead, maybe they will have a IT department. What's that? They have all their kind of parastatals. There's national IT something. There is a NIGOM also. So they'll have the parastatal that is there's this other popular one that appears to be missing. Yeah?
NCC.
The NCC will be specific to regulatory regulations affecting the GSM company, more of an office and legal thing. But these other parts are the technical parts. They have names, so one of them will be responsible for this. They'll be in charge of this. It must be a government parastatal, but it is owned by the government. So they just tell the director general there, this, and those ones, they have the tools that they can use to find out the IP address of, and then just put it there. Very simple, put it. All right, so it means that if you do not, as far as you are depending on this one, then you not have access. But if you now find some other ways through here, using VPN or some other methods, but you are not depending on traffic coming from here, then you can always connect to Twitter because you are not passing through this gateway to access it. Majority of people will pass through, majority of devices here will pass through this. Or occasionally you have people that will have other backdoor, deliberately so. So traffic on the outside wall without passing through it. You just imagine that this is the kingdom of Israel in those days. That people, okay. And then they say, once the main gate is locked at a particular time, there will be other small gates called Eye of a Needle. All right, so if you are late to town, if coming late, it will be very hard for your camel because it's more gate. For your camels to pass through this tiny gate, you have to squeeze it in because normally you pass through the main gate, but the main gate is there. So there are many eyes of a needle here and there that people can explore to see, IT experts like you can explore to still have access to what was blocked from you. All right, so this is why it is easier for, it is actually difficult for a camel to pass through this tiny door, but sometimes they just manage to pass through. So because of the difficulty of passing through this eye of a needle, we now say it is easier for camel to do that, fight of difficult, than for something to do. All right, so that is better explained at the network layer, and that's what we just try to do. It's networking people, not. But there's a lot of similarities between how Linux works and how Cisco routers work. As a matter of fact, modern days routers are actually Linux systems. It will shock you. It might shock you if you understand that. Modern day routers are actually pure Linux servers. In other words, you understand Linux, you know Linux so well, you just need only a little to become a network person, because especially by the time you do DevOps, the same way you would deploy codes remotely to Linux servers and then automate the system is exactly the same way you deploy codes to, in fact, just replace the Linux server there with Cisco router, and then you are just doing it. So all the automation, all the coding, all the Python that is relevant in solutions architecting and solutions development, they are now also equally relevant the same way in networking. By networking, I mean things relating to Cisco routers, configuration of these routers, making them work, logging into them remotely, SSH into them, putting the right configuration, exactly the same thing as if you were working on a server. All right, so that's why DevOps engineers are now being hired as Cisco engineers, because everything you know in DevOps and the way you deploy it, in fact, you'll be working with Cisco router, you don't even know that. You think you are working with a Linux system. So that's why my first answer was yes. However, it is not applied at the layer of working on system in order to administer a network. It is applied at the network layer over here. All right, more questions? All right, so essentially we'll have 2 more services to go, and then we'll cover Linux. But I'm deliberately slow and taking this easy so that it doesn't look like I'm rushing you just because. Let's have next week. Let's cover it next week. So we'll do 1 per class, or if we finish the 2 of them, fine. We just want to learn. This is practical. We just want to practice how to configure NFS server in class. That's all. Purely practical. We just follow the lines one by one. And then once we do that successfully, we also do how to configure Samba. You can see that they are fairly long, so they are kind of, I'll consider them complex projects. In other words, once you can do this, I'll salute you and say, yes, you know Linux. So they are not like very easy projects. Not in terms of the implementation, because I already have everything spelled out the way you should do it. Just basically like copy and pasting, but the understanding of it and understanding, just following, oh, okay, this is why I had to do this here, this is the meaning of this. It really helped me salute you, like I said. And then there's this other part that is too advanced. We are not doing it at all. It's a different topic, installing the monitoring system. For the only case, you just put it there as part of your, I imagine you have this note as a textbook that you would always refer to. It shouldn't only contain what you know, it should also contain what you might need in the future. So that's why I made this. All right, so I don't want to touch the remaining two topics today. Let's do them next week, even though next week is public holiday, right? But let's just let's give you time to revise so that you have questions to ask, so that we treat them to them. But that doesn't mean we're closing now. We're still here. I'm just hoping that you have enough questions to keep us busy for the remaining 1 hour. All right, questions. If there are no questions, we can take 10 minutes break and then come back and spend 1 hour together. And if you still don't have questions then maybe we'll start. Maybe we'll start one of the projects, or I just look for some. Questions? All right, no questions. Let's take 10-minute break. Let me just take a walk, come back in 10 minutes, and then we'll now have 1 hour together. If there are still no questions, then we'll just look for something to do to learn. If it means revising what we have done so far, no problem. All right, so for this 10 minutes, I'm going to pause the recording. Please remind me when we resume to start recording again. All right, so see you at 2 minutes to it. This is 7:48 my time. So see you in 10 minutes, which is 2 minutes to 8 my time. Pause resume. All right. So do you have questions now? Hmm? Do you have questions? All right, let me ask you questions if you don't have questions. You heard that CentOS is will no longer be supported. In place of CentOS, they released a new version of CentOS, but not called CentOS. Yeah, we heard that long ago, and then we had a brief talk about it in class. The pressure I had then was we were going to shut down CentOS as a Unix operating system, as a Linux, but no. It's just like, okay, Red Hat says they can no longer support CentOS. They want to focus on other variants, and somebody just said, okay, in that case, let me develop something along that line to continue to support people that are already running something. Yeah. Nothing is really changing, basically. Same kernel, but run by a different company. So that means for me as a trainer, it's likely I'll be dropping CentOS and focusing on maybe Ubuntu or something else, but not CentOS. Yeah, just focus on Ubuntu. Are you seeing my note? I'm trying to run through the notes so that if you see anything that you covered and you feel like we should revise, then this stuff. And that networking, yes. We know the most important file too. Yes, somebody was talking about hosts. And then we said, was that person able to do that work? We're talking about host file. So let's do that. Host, are you able to host? So let's log in here. And then we have the hostname of this system is Asia. So what about the other system? Let's bring up the other system. Next one. All right, so if we ping, what's the if config? We can, instead of if config, which is kind of old fashioned now, we can actually do the new command, which is a IP address. Okay. And instead of IP address, you can actually do IP add. In fact, I can do IPA and then say show. All right. So it shows you the IP addresses, and you see that the IP address for, all right, in place of IP config, you can use this. So the IP address for this system is 192.168.100.9. All right. What about the IP address for this other system? And then we'll do IPA, and then it says it is .20. So to ping the other system, we'll say ping 192.168.100.19, right? And that is pinging. Now, let us try and ping the host name instead. Control C. Quit. Q for quit rest. Control C. Okay, so let us ping this other system. So the name of this system is America Server. All right. So to ping that system as America Server, we say no. Okay. Let me reduce this. Okay. So for this one, let me say ping America Server. This is the question the person was asking, that I ping the host name and I don't get a result. Did I spell it right? I should get results. There's something wrong. Right, then I come here and I say ping. Okay, what's the host name of this system? Maybe I didn't get host name. America Server now. So if I say ping America Server, then I should get a result. And then if I now say you ping Asia Server, I should also get a result. All right, so it's not working. So what do I do now? What I'll do locally on this system? Okay, the way to do this locally on this system is to use a file called host. Okay, let's do host. So there's a file called host, and it's a configuration file. It's saved in etc. So cd etc. Cd etc. There's a file called host. Let me see if I can just cut host. Yeah, that's the file. So let me go into host. Let me say sudo vi into host. So what I'll do here is come here and tell this file that the name Asia, this name Asia server is a system on my network, and the IP address of that system is 192.168.100.19. Right, so I put the IP address here, and then I put the name of the system here. So what am I saying? I'm like creating a DNS. Later we'll do this in DNS. But for now, this is a local way of telling the system that anytime I say ping server, Asia server, this is the IP address I'm referring to. So I'm helping this.
Again, the Asia is 19, not 20.
Okay, let's quickly confirm that.
Yeah.
Come here and say, what's your IP address? IP address It tells me that the IP address is 20.
20,
So
20, right? Oh, okay.
Yeah, the 19 you were seeing is because it was pinging 19. That's why you saw 19.
Oh, okay, okay.
All right, so let's come back here. So this is how to do it. So I save this. I say control switch back. All right, so what do I do to remind the system that there's a change? For host file, nothing to do. There's nothing to restart. Or is it related to net? Host is actually related to networking. Okay, well, at least. Now let us ping Asia Savannah. Last time we said ping Asia Savannah, he didn't know. He said no result. Now ping Asia Savannah. We're getting result. So the host file is the local version of DNS. And you know that DNS helps you resolve the host name to domain name. So now you are pinging host name, you are getting address. Because with the host file, with that file host, you are not able to resolve the host name right there. And then the same thing you do here. We'll come to this other side as well and say, I told you ping so person, you are telling me you don't know him, and then you go to ping him. Now let me go and give this to host file so that next time you know it. So what do? I say ping. No, so I say sudo edit. Sorry, sudo vi into etc host. All right, so we'll come here, we're familiar with this, and then we'll just add the name of the other server so that from now on, these guys are what. So the name of the other server is America server. And the IP address, how do I know I should type the IP address? I see the sample here. IP address comes first before the name of it. All right, so come back and I put the IP address as 192.168.100. All right, so that's it. Again, I save, control WQ. All right. I want to restart. I guess I should restart. Host is related to networking, so it should be about restart system CTL restart. The restart is not for now, it's for future. So even without restarting, it's working. Or actually enabled. Okay, then restart network .service. And then sudo be enable sudo. All right. So if we now say, last time we said ping America, you didn't know, but if we say ping America Savannah, because we have it in your ping America server. Okay, so well, I didn't put the name right there. What should it be? Let me tell you.
I think he didn't sell the America well.
In the other one, there should be America server. Okay, let me go back and edit. America server. Okay, so yeah. Oh no, I didn't spell it. America. Insert. Oh, I did come in as sudo. Yeah, escape. This blank. Okay. So now the American is spelled right. Can you ping America now? All right, so that's it. So this is the answer I gave when you said, when somebody asked on the forum, and I said, edit the host file. This is how to edit the host. All right. But you would say this is cumbersome. Suppose we have 80 systems. This is how you'll be doing it on the 80 systems? No. In that case, you will do it centrally. To do it centrally, you configure a DNS server. So it is from a DNS server now that all systems will be resolving either from IP host name to IP address or from domain name to IP address. But for 2, 3, 4, 5 servers within, this is the work of the host file. This is all the host file from. So exam questions we used to ask of all of these files, which are the ones that are important for networking. So they would normally be, if these files are listed, the answers would be 1, this file is the most important. This is the one you configured and to which you added your IP address, your DNS server. So the other two will be host file and your NS switch file, nsswitch.com. All right, you want to take a look at what nsswitch.com contains. You are not going to configure anything there. Well, it basically tells the system what files contain what network resource. Okay, let's take a look. There's no harm. So let's just cat ns. Let's cat it. Control. We can go inside and look at it. So Control C, and then we can do we don't want to edit, so we can just do sudo without VI. We can just do VI without C. Let's see. NS switch. nsswitch.com. All right. So this is nsswitch.com. So it tells the networking environment, the holding it, that if you are looking for this file, this is where to find it. If you are looking for this file, this is where to find it. If you are looking for this file, no, not where to find it. It says this is the file that does this. This is the file that does this. This is the file that does this. This is the file where you find this kind of information, right? Files DNS, my host name, what you just did. If you are looking for anything, my host name, this is the file to go and look for. All right, so it's basically telling the system where to find what files. That's all. But if you were an expert and you feel, no, I want to change the name of the file that should provide my host name should not be host. It should be Akin. Then I should be able to come here and remove this name host and put Akin. Otherwise, anytime the system is looking for host name, it will go and look for this file. Anytime the system is looking for SSS, whatever that means, it will go and look for this file. Anytime the system is looking for all of these other ones are comments, so let's look for something valid. Anytime the system is looking for netmasks, networks, it will look for the appropriate files, default files. But like I said, there's nothing to configure here, so don't worry about it. You just tell the system, this is for networking people, it tells the system where to find what files. All right, so these are the 3 important network files that you find in the system. Right? I mean, when I say this, I mean these other names in the document. Where's my phone? These names here, these 3 names. All right. Name these files. How can you find them? Where they are located? They are located in Etsy directory. In which of these files do I enter IP address? Do I configure? I'll just enter. Okay. Enter is a clear one. If I enter and configure my IP address, of course, you know, because you have already done it before. But you do also want enter IP addresses. So it's better to say, do I configure? Or do I assign IP address to computer? Do I assign network IP address? All right. So that would be if config, then the interface emp0 s3. Controls. Please note that this is not really so. We can change the name of this interface to anything else, but at least let's even get used to this interface and know how to get it. If you're not comfortable with the name, you normally want to change it to X0 or something. All right. You're able to ping servers on your LAN by their IP addresses, but not able to do same by their computer name. Okay. How do you resolve this issue? That's the issue we just resolved. Okay. We ping by the IP addresses, we got resolved. But we ping by their computer name, America server, Asia server, we did not get resolved. So we resolve the issue. How did we resolve it? By configuring the host file with the host name and IP address. All right. So we'll just answer that question. You are able to ping servers on the internet by their IP addresses, but not by their URL. This is a similar question. So who can attend this? This is very similar to this, but this one was on our local network, but this one is now on the internet. And here we're not talking about host name. We're talking about on the internet using their URL, domain names. So we're talking about domain name here. So if the issue is not with host name, but with domain name on the internet, where do we search? What's the problem and how do we resolve? In that case, it will be the DNS server. We have asked this question many times in many different forms. The answer we expect remains the same. What is the issue and how do you resolve it? So the issue is the domain name is not resolving to IP address. And the solution is go and set up a record on the DNS server and tell the DNS server what the IP address of that domain is. So in future, the DNS server will now be able to resolve the domain name to its IP address. And that problem is solved. All right. The concept of binary numbers is based on these things. So we'll do that in this called CIDR. We'll do it in cloud. It's not going to start it now. We'll do it in cloud. All right. And then here I'm just trying to show you, to remind you of this command /more so that you know what it means. Sudo dh client. What am I trying to show you there? Then sudo systemctl restart network service. Yes. I don't remember what I'm trying to show you here. Let me see. DH client. Let's see. No. Let me get out of sudo first. Of VI. So quit without saving. All right. So sudo DH client. I didn't get my password. Okay, let's do it again. In fact, let's go to my sudo DH client. Okay, so DH client is already running, existing. This version of DHCP is based on the release available on. These features have been added and other changes have been made to the base software release in order to make it work better with this distribution. Let's report any software via the endurance board this exists. D-ish client. It's already existing. Okay. I'm not sure. To be honest, I don't remember what that does. So let's just say man D-ish client. I can do, what does this do? Man. All right, so let's look at it. Dynamic host configuration protocol. Okay. So what do I want to? Okay. Let me. Dynamic host configuration protocol client. That's already installed now. The internet client provides means of one or more. Okay, so basically what this does, which is not a big deal because it's inherent. There are things you call internal command and external command. This is just part of. I don't remember the real reason I separated it. But what this does, from what we can read here, is it provides the client, this system, with the ability to be able to accept and use DHCP. And then from my experience so far, that is normal, that's nothing special. What is special is assigning static IP address. As for DHCP, it comes by default with systems. So systems are able to automatically use IP addresses that dynamically assign. So it's no good. All right. So we can read everything about, we already know about it. In order to keep track of leases across system reviews, and all of this is just talk. But we don't have special need for them. Okay, so let me scroll down and see. I hope these findings we are revising are making sense. This one is about, it's a topic on its own, because what you know so far, coming from Windows and the little we have done with IP addressing now, is enough to still carry on. But all this, what I have written down here about IP addressing, let us look at IP addressing at a higher level than we already know, because it's a separate and autonomous topic in cloud. So we'll look at it in details there. However, as usual, I've kept this one here as a reference, just for you to know that there are 3 major classes of IP addresses, even though we're going to mention 5 later. But these 3 are the ones that are important to you. The other 2 are not important. Right? You don't even care about them. You don't know if they exist. Right? So just talking about this now without taking you, I'll take you to the beginning of IP addressing, how these numbers came about, how you recognize an IP address as a class A or class B or class C, what the default subnet mask means. We'll do all of that. All right. But for now, we just know that when I say give me an IP address, it's okay for now to just give me an IP address that starts with 192.168, then does something. Just make sure they start with these 2 numbers for now. Later on, after we have covered these other types, then you'll be able to give me other types. For right now, we're dealing with small networks. So give me IP addresses that fit within small networks. And then when we get to cloud and we're dealing with big networks, we'll take a look here. And then ultimately let's take a look at them. All right. So that is not Linux, that's networking. We'll talk about that. And then we know that just copy this and paste this on this file, rather inside this file, and save it. That way, you have successfully configured static IP address, this static IP address for that system. All right, to save your changes, that's what you do. Then remember your SCP. Even if you don't remember them, you will be using them frequently in the future. But in case you are not going all the way to the future, you have them here. It does exactly what copy does, but the S is secure, which means it is used when you are moving when you want to copy from one server to another server. Copy will not do it. You have to do scopy. And if you already copied and you don't feel like copying all the time, then you can just synchronize by using rsync. All right. The user is not able to perform administrative tasks. To perform administrative tasks, that user has to be made a sudoer by joining the user to the group will using this command. To give user sudo permission, you use this command, right? So that it's not a will member, a member of the group will, and therefore a sudo. All right. And then we talked about how powerful the commands ls lookup, dig, call, especially ls lookup and dig are, because you may not always have access to graphic user environment where you can test whether your site is browsing. But you can use NF lookup, then the domain name of your site, or NF lookup the IP address of your site to see whether the site is resolving. And then the same thing for dig. It doesn't have to be domain name, it can be IP address, like one. But because this is internet, it will not be a local IP address like 192.168. No, it will be internet address. Internet address. Internet address is not 192.168. No, those are local area network addresses, not internet addresses. All right. Internet addresses are called public addresses, public IP addresses. Whereas the other common ones that we're using that will not work on the internet, the 192.168. Anything starting with 192.168, it will not work on the internet. It's a private IP address. It's not public. I guess that was why I wrote down those ones so that I can give you an idea of which ones are okay. Private, yes. The keyword here is private IP address. So these addresses will not work on the internet. They are not routable. They must be used within local area networks. For big local area networks, you use this range of IP addresses because these IP addresses will support millions of IP addresses. For medium-sized local area networks, you use this range of IP address. But for tiny, tiny local area networks, like we'll be working on since, of not more than 254 computers, then you use this. Right? So public IP addresses are different from private IP addresses. Public IP addresses are routable and used on the internet. Private IP addresses are not routable and they cannot be used on the internet. If a system using a private IP address needs to go onto the internet, and then the private IP address we already said is not routable, then it needs a network address translator, a NAT service, to interface to make a private IP address see a public IP address. That's the use of NAT. I don't know if all of this is making sense. If it's making sense, then wow, we're already communicating. But if it's not, it should. Because we've configured NAT many times. Why did we configure NAT? Why did we enable NAT on our Oracle virtual machine environment? Is it not so that we can connect to the internet? Yes, that the machine can connect to the internet. That was why we enabled NAT. What is the IP address of our machine? 192.168.100.19. I said that is a private IP address. It cannot connect to the internet. It has nothing to do with the internet. But how come we are still using it to browse the internet? Because there is a NAT that is able to help us translate that private IP address to some public IP address. That is why we're able to connect to the internet and be able to do dig, NS lookup, and so on. Yeah, many pieces to be able to join together. It may not all make sense right now, but the more all of these pieces make sense and the more you're able to understand them enough to use them yourself, then the more you are ready to come on board as an IT professional. All right, so the videos are there. Watch them over and over, rewind and go back there. What did he mean when he said did? Okay. All right, so that's that. So what else? Okay, let's look at questions. What does this question say? The root can give sudo permission to a user simply by making the user member of a particular system group. What is the name of that system group? And what command would they use to add the member to this group? What's the name of the group to which the root must add a user in order for the user to be able to use sudo command? The name of the group, like we already saw many times and even below there, is will. And the command to do that is user minus ag will, then the name of the user. Okay, so that's about it. All of this theory, everything we're revising now, is not as important as you actually turning your machine on and practicing all of these commands one by one. That's the real thing. However, we still just need to explain the theory so that at least you know what you are about to do or what you are doing and it makes sense. And you are not just doing it because I asked you to revise it. So they are both important. It's important to practice the command, but it's also important to know why, when, how to use those commands. All right, so that's it for today. Are we okay coming to class next week to finish those two projects and then we are done? We might be able to finish both of them in one day and that'll be it, but if we're not able to, we'll use 2 days next week. Because even though I'm trying to slow down, not rush, it could become boring if I become too slow as well. I know that for 1 or 2 persons, I'm already too slow. But we just need to carry everybody along as much as possible. So bear with me if you feel I'm too slow. All right, so that's all I want to take in one day. I know that if we didn't have to do all of these revisions and we just focused on the remaining projects, yes, we would have finished them. 30 minutes on each of them, 1 hour, we are done. But again, I deliberately don't want to appear like I'm rushing and not giving you quality training. So bear with me. All right, questions? So who is confident of yeah, I know you have not all practiced, but who is confident of? Who can boldly say, I know Linux. I don't know how much, that's relative. I don't know how much of Linux you would think you know to be able to say, yes, I know Linux. But is there anybody that can answer, yeah, I know Linux. I know Linux. Who is the man? Who is the woman that can answer, yes, I know Linux? Nobody. Okay, go and practice. And then what about we do this? Is it okay if we can actually practice what is left in one day? Is it okay I give you Friday instead of having another full week of well, whether we have another full week or not, that's not even the important thing. Is it okay I give you Friday to go through the notes and do some revision, and then we'll come to class and complete it on Saturday. The reason you need to consider that is once we finish class and I say we are finished, there'll be no other opportunity to come back to class with questions. So would you rather we finish it on Friday because we can finish these two, we could have finished it today if we wanted, but we deliberately did not. So what do we do next week? Finish it one day and then we know we are done. Everybody go and settle down, start to revise the best way you deem fit. Or should I give you Friday, the time you should have been in class with me, use it to revise so that by the time you now come to class on Saturday, we are most active in class, we are following, and then we know what we're doing. Or what do you guys think?
I think that will be okay.
Which of them?
We'll do it on Saturday.
Okay, that I give you Friday to see how much of this you can cover on your own so that you come on Saturday and we actively participate and do it together.
Yeah.
All right, so can I have a second yes in addition to Julius so that we now know how to work with it?
Yeah, that's fine by me too.
Oh, that's fine. So 2 yeses are good enough. So what I'm saying in one word is, apart from just leading you through this project so that you have an active participation of, oh, this is how the project is done, we have actually covered Linux now. We have actually covered Linux. Those projects are just like the final thing you should be doing by yourself, but let us do them together. We have covered Linux. So take your time now that we have covered Linux. You don't really have to be, it doesn't have to be like watching the videos line by line from beginning to the end, but just so much to be able to ask questions in class, knowing that you may not have this opportunity again to ask questions. You just brush through the whole thing, pencil down areas, things that you practice that did not work, then bring them to class. Let's look at them together. Not like going through all of them all over, just go straight to practicals. And then we'll practice those 2 projects. And then that is it. Okay, so I should remember to put it on the forum to say, Friday class, I'll be here, but practice on your own. If you have issues, put it on the forum. Let's deal with them. And Saturday, let us do the project and officially finish. All right, guys. Sometimes I just talk too much. So let me let you go so I don't waste the remaining 20 minutes. You have to practice. So that's all for today. We're not owing any videos. All videos are already uploaded. We're up to date with videos. There hasn't been any major change to the notes, so you are not expecting new notes. So everything is good so far.
Sir.
Yeah.
Question about the video. How long are you gonna have the video up, or are we gonna have access to it permanently?
Okay, permanently after class?
Yes, after the class.
It should permanently be there because I've already taken care of making sure that only paid people have access. So you should have access forever.
All right, sounds good.
Okay,
Thank you.
that is good. That is good.
Yeah.
That's good because I haven't been able to start following this due to other programs that I have going on. So that's good. Thanks.
Right. You're welcome.
We still have one more day, right?
Yeah, one more day, Saturday.
Thank
Friday,
you, sir.
practice on your own, then we have Saturday.
Thank you, sir.
It was because of your comment of pleading with your people to ask questions so that way. I just thought about it and said, you know what? There's no need to rush. Let me give you time to.
Thank you, sir.
All right. See you guys on.
And I think I have one more question. After this one, sir.
Okay.
Sir, After the one we have on Saturday, we have another program that you have coming up, right? The cloud, right?
Yeah, many of you are here to become DevOps engineers. So
Right.
the reason we are these are the courses that we are going through in order to arrive at becoming a DevOps engineer. So after Linux, the next course is AWS.
Do you know when that's going to start, sir? Have you scheduled?
Yes, it should start immediately after Saturday. It should start on, I'm looking at the calendar.
Okay, isn't it back to back?
Yeah, I was thinking if we can have
Yeah.
1 week off it to practice what we actually been doing.
Yeah, I think it's getting back to back.
Do you want back to back?
No.
I feel like it's kind of back to back, like
Okay,
doing it. Then after that we go to cloud. Meanwhile, we haven't really
mastered the one
yeah,
that you're doing right now. Exactly. I'm
yeah.
glad somebody's thinking the way I'm thinking about it. I mean,
okay.
a week or thereabout, we're still your prodigy. We're still learning from you. So we're always gonna hang around. We haven't learned anything we need.
Oh, Akim, you have another class. They are ready to take the cloud. Then probably those of us who want to wait
On this group can always at least take a week break or thereabout. I don't know what idea another person has, and then we can be confidently into the two programs that we've taken from you now, and then we can confidently jump to the AWS.
Okay, so the people who have paid for AWS already and you are looking forward to AWS.
People already ahead.
Yes,
Wow.
people have paid for those courses. So are you comfortable with taking 1 week? Let's hear from them. Are you comfortable with taking 1 week off after Linux so that like we did after Windows, we had a 1 week break.
Yeah, I think that's not bad. That is not a bad idea.
Well, I will plead with the guys that already ahead to pay for the AWS. It's also your interest, whatever, Mr. Akin, that's fine on them. Mr. Akin, do you still have, after these guys that you already have now, do you still have another opening?
Another class, yes, then we also join the other one.
We're not even talking about another one yet because we have not fixed date for this. So let's look at this date now. Say, okay, next week we are rounding up this class on the 3rd, right? After that, let us have the week of 9th and the lecture days of 9th and 10th will not hold. AWS starts on the 16th.
So
on the 16th.
AWS starts 16th
of July.
July. That makes a lot of sense. I will buy into that 100%.
Yeah. So you have the week of the 9th and 10th.
Correct.
That you asked for. So you have that week.
Correct.
And then we'll now come back to class on the 16th to continue to start a new class, AWS.
The other person I'm hearing his voice. Are you okay with that too?
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Okay, it makes more satisfying for me too.
It looks like the other people are not talking. Are they there or they move away? It looks like
everybody has their own interest, right? So maybe they're okay with it, but Mr. Akin has to decide how he wants to schedule it.
Yeah,
and if that's what he's doing, sustained, that's great. I hope every other person is not offended by the idea. It just helps.
They'll let me know if they are.
Good.
So tentatively, until I have such complaints, then let us go with this arrangement here.
Yeah, no rush, man, because it looks like the Linux thing is flying off the head a little bit. All right, thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. See you guys next week.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.